Welcome to another episode of Hiring and Empowering Solutions. My name is Molly McGrath, and I am the creator of this office altering podcast. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. As always, you can check us out at hiringandempowering.com. So if you listened to our episode last week where we had the amazing Rick Girard on, we talked about all company issues are people issues in disguise. I really want to pick up on that conversation because we had a phenomenal conversation about hiring from core values. And really, we ended it with, I promised that I would speak more into that. And I've really been thinking about this topic a lot lately as I work with firms in regards to their hiring process or just getting their people to step up and lead. Or I get phone calls every single day about in emails saying, so-and-so is not working out, they're too slow, they're clock watchers, they leave at 5 o'clock, they're not invested, they have employee mentality and things of that nature. And I've really been anchoring to this concept of getting clear on your law firm core values. And what I love about this conversation is that so often firms are missing it, number one, and they confuse mission statement, vision statements, all that jazz with core values. So what do we mean by this? I'll give you the perfect example in regards to so often for law firms that do have core values, and we talked about this on the podcast last week, is that they'll hijack ones that they think they should have that match all these cool, hip, empowering companies like Google and Apple and Facebook and what have you that, you know, we're team-centric, we're empowered, family first, all of these very culturally acceptable terms that really are a lie about their firm. Let's even just unpack family first. I can't tell you when I go into law firms, what have you, and we start working on core values, they will say that. And then when I start unpacking what's working, what's not working, all that, you know, they hire people, they say that it's within their employee manual, within their website, within all their marketing messaging, but it's really truly a lie. It's not the truth. And it's okay if that is your firm. If you are a firm where you expect that somebody's going to work nights and weekends and do whatever it takes to get the job done and to move the file, especially when you're in a highly high voltage firm with massive deadlines, etc. If you are a firm where maybe you as a law firm owner do not have children, do not have a tremendous amount of commitments and what have you, it's okay for you to expect your employees to be working nights and weekends and give up some of their personal obligations for the reward of what they get for working for your firm and with your firm. But you have to get really clear on what your firm values are. So it can't be family first if you're so completely frustrated that people leave at 5 o'clock on the dot, or they leave at 5:30 every single day because they have to get to soccer practice, what have you, even if there is a deadline. Because when you interviewed them, when you were hiring them, and they were very, very clear that they had small-age children with sports and all these other commitments, and you said it was okay, but you really didn't mean it was okay. You meant it's okay as long as it doesn't compromise the firm. One of my core values when I interview people and hire people in my company, the very first core value within my organization is brutal honesty. That's not fun. It's not fuzzy. It's not inspiring. It's not empowering. Well, you can argue if it's empowering, but it's really clear. That is the first one. I am very, very clear in my weekly meetings with my team, my daily huddles with my team, and through my interviewing process. I need full permission to show up unapologetically in meetings and in communication and in conversation to just get to the bottom line. I can't worry about you being in a corner in a fetal position crying. And yes, I am all about team-centric and empowerment and what have you. And I believe it, I teach it, I preach it. But at the end of the day, when it comes to my organization, I need the permission to communicate, and I need to hire people from that way. And that's how I interview people, and that's how I hire people. So you have to be really clear. If is that you are hardworking, that we will do whatever it takes to get the job done. That is a core value. And everybody has to be in agreement with it. And you interview from that place. I was just talking to a firm, and one of the things that the attorney's constantly stressed out right now, working 7 days a week, nights and weekends, things of that nature. And in the interviewing process, I was facilitating the interview, and the candidate asked a phenomenal question. And this was for a COO position. And the candidate said, well, if I asked all of your employees, what would they tell me about you? And the second part of that question is, what would they tell me about your organization, about your company, about your firm? And the attorney, I'm sitting in this Zoom room watching this whole thing, and the attorney's going on, well, they would say that I'm very fair, that, I give really nice gifts and bonuses and things of that nature. And she's going on. And I'm like waiting for it. And then I go, and I'd like to add something else that they would say. They would say that nothing's ever good enough for her. And the attorney's like sheet white, like glaring at me through my Zoom square, like I just destroyed the entire interview. And I'm just sit there for a second, and the candidate handled it beautifully. She goes, yep, that's exactly what I heard all the time in all my COO positions from employees all the time. And she didn't skip a beat. She wasn't like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to work for a slave driver like this. She was very clear that as entrepreneurs, as business owners, that's what most of our employees would say. Nothing's ever good enough. And so now you, COO, have to deal with that, and you have to triage a team in regards to that and coach them up into why we do have unrelenting standards, why we do strive for perfection. And it's interesting because after that interview, I did a sidebar with the attorney, like, talk to me a little bit about your core values. She's like, what do you mean? And then we started reviewing them. I'm like, no, those are mission and vision statements. Like, one of your core values is you strive for perfection. And she goes, well, nobody's going to want to work here for that. That's not very exciting. I'm like, well, it's all in your delivery and how you do it. But yes, the right people will. And right now you have clock watchers in there. Right now you have people that don't want to work nights and weekends. You have people that do not pay attention to detail at all. And you're constantly frustrated, and you have a constant revolving door. So get really clear on your firm core values, number one. Number two, communicate those within your interviewing process consistently when you are interviewing people. And if you don't know what I'm talking about and you really are struggling with how to even identify yours, here is a very quick, impactful, powerful exercise for you to sit down with your team and get really clear on what they are. So what are the things that you are so frustrated with your team that you consistently see? Existing team, people that you're tolerating, what have you? What are they missing that you are needing? And that's where you start. Those are your clues. Those are your answers in regards to what your core values are and anchoring into it. So is it people with employee mentality, people that are not willing to, they're just yes chicks, they shake their head, or they're constantly blaming people. There's a tremendous amount of drama, or they're very, very defensive and they think that their head's always on the chopping block. Or maybe you feel like they don't care as much as you. Well, guess what? They're never going to care as much as you do. Your name's on the door. That's why you're an entrepreneur and why they're an employee. So start there in regards to yourself. Do some self-reflection. And then if you have a leadership team with the COO or professional law firm administrator or what have you, or associate attorneys that might be on a partner track or anything of that nature, check in with them and talk to them. And then go back to your team and do a 90-minute mini retreat, lunch and learn, however you want to classify and interact with it, and start interviewing them and say, I really want to come up with 4 or 5 really key core values for our firm as we grow, as we start to develop into, hiring people and things of that nature. And then let's really get into that place and revisiting it. One of them might be dependability. Can't depend on anyone. Might be reliability. It might be commitment. One of mine is discipline. Like that, we have an organization of discipline. We are all self-governing, come by and large with batteries included. We have adult conversations around here that we do have best practice, high peak performer habits. Discipline is one of my top on the Strength Finder. And maybe take the Strength Finder and anchor those. Have everyone take the Strength Finders and highlight those. One of mine also is that there's open-mindedness. Consistency is huge for me as an 8 fact finder. Your Kolbes, your Strength Finders give you clues to your core values. Again, my number 1 is brutal honesty. And I played with that word and, crucial conversations. I tried to fluff it. I tried to what have you. And it wasn't until I just named it and declared it as that. We get to have brutal honesty where we know that we come from the place of best intention, but we're just going to cut through the fat and get to the heart of the matter. One of yours might be efficiency. Some might be harmony. It might be that we're inclusive. You have to get really, really clear on what those are for you. And make sure they're clear and everybody knows what that means. Some very servant leadership, not the client always comes first or the customer always comes first. 1 or 2 words that you can anchor into that are like a bomb just dropped in the room. Integrity. We know and do what is right. We don't pad our hourly billing. We don't do things of that nature. Like really clear. Respect is a big one. Honest, respectful conversations. Get clear on what things are for you. Go to your Kolbes, go to your Strength Finders, go to your employees, and then incorporate those into a place of, it might be that one of yours is family first. And we're making a commitment. We close the office on Fridays. We're making the commitment. You might have a problem on the other end. People don't leave, and then their kids are sitting in parking lots or in schools or what have you, or that they're abandoning their family. They're working late at night. That's a problem that I have in my organization that I constantly have to remind people and some of my clients too, where that is something that's important for them, but they've never communicated that. They're afraid to because they're afraid they're going to get fired or that it communicates that they're not dedicated. So go to your Kolbes, go to your Strength Finders, go to your employees, go to do a self-reflection, see where you are so frustrated. And those will be clues where you haven't been clear, you haven't identified, you haven't declared your core values, and start there. And then the next time you hire, be really clear and upfront. One of them is that, I get permission. We have unrelenting standards. We strive for perfection. Strive is a key word. That we have one of our core values is that we triple check everything before it goes out of this office. There is no room for error. That's okay to say that and to name it and to declare it and interview from that place. Don't gloss over that. Don't skip over it. All right, let us know how you do, where we can help. I'll put some links in the show notes for how to take the Kolbe A assessment if you are not familiar with that, and the Gallup 2.0 Top 5 Strengths. Both very, very inexpensive assessments and the very quickest, easiest, cheapest way to start. Let us know where we can help out.